And I'm actually going to pose a question to you that I posed to Craig Johnson over at Piper Sandler in the last hour, which is, does it matter so much who wins or loses the election as how quickly it is actually resolved and that we know who the winners are both on the presidential level and the congressional level?
Well, it's as we continue to hear, it's very likely to be a contested result because the going into it, we're so very tight. And with our country so divided as it is, you could expect a contested election. We had a contested election back in 2000. It was resolved. Gosh, I think it took into January before it was resolved. The markets didn't seem to care that much, though. And if you go back beyond that, back into the late 1960s, I believe it was 1968, you were having assassinations at that time. You had a contested election at that time. You had riots going on, and the market seemed to continue apace. So I think that history tells us maybe not to worry that way. And then, gosh, if we look at this year, could you have ever dreamed up the year that we have been through here, this election year? And the market just continues to make new highs. So we wouldn't think that should be the issue really at all. Rather, corporate profit margins are at all-time highs today. That's powerful and hard to argue.
Linda, I want to stay with what you just brought up. It's been an abnormally strong election year, right? And we didn't really get the typical October volatility we would see. I think the VIX is still sitting below 20 right now. Is that a concern that we haven't had the volatility come yet? Or are we just waiting for it to come? Is it something that's going to come, in 2 weeks? Is it something that's inevitable and we just haven't paid that price yet?
Yeah, it's like all the old adages just start working for us, are they this year? And we are coming into this election day with, I guess today we made a new record high on the NASDAQ, very recently a new record high on the S&P 500. And in this market deserves a correction. It deserves really a 7 to 10% correction. And we are expecting that at Federated Hermes. I'm actually writing in my weekly this week that I wonder if in this rarest of rare election years, the correction comes after the election. But whatever, it's very, very difficult. You've had a 30% plus year in the market, and that doesn't happen very often. The last 21 out of the last 21 times it did happen, 19 of those times, you didn't have a recession for at least a year. So that I think, when we sit back and we try to take our minds off of this crazy election year and the emotions and et cetera, and look at the fundamentals of this economy. The earnings are great. The employment is still really quite good. And we're out there spending. So it's hard not to be a bull.